Hello, welcome back to Data Leaps. In today's video, we will recap the announcement from Fabcon 2025. Fabcon just happened last week. I wasn't in Vegas. I was settling into a new life, but all my friends are talking about the announcement coming from Fabcon. And I recently took off my Databricks hat, so I can talk about it too. And I've grouped the announcement into 4 different parts. The flagship announcement, the biggest announcement that you need to care about, the developer experience announcement, the automation announcement, and this, in my opinion, is really, really important that makes Fabric more production ready. And the last but not least is the integration announcement. Bear in mind, I haven't tried any of these announcements. I'm just taking things at face value. And a lot of these announcements anyways are not going to be ready until a few months from now. But when I do get my hands on these, I'll definitely try them out and do review videos. First is the flagship announcements. To me, these are the biggest announcements that not to be missed. First of all is, of course, Direct Lake. Direct Lake is one of the most important value prop from Fabric, and there's a lot of announcements regarding Direct Lake. To me, these are announcements that are removing blockers for Direct Lake adoption. For instance, Direct Lake in desktop. Now, most people use Power BI, use Power BI desktop to develop the model. So to be able to develop Direct Lake in desktop will help the adoption of Direct Lake for sure. And the second is composite model over Direct Lake and import. It's such a no-brainer. Like previously, you were able to build composite model over direct query and import, taking advantage of the performance of import as well as the responsiveness of direct query. And when Direct Lake was introduced, you have to stick with one another. This is a feature that addresses that issue. You no longer have to choose between Direct Lake or import. In a composite model, you can have both. And then you have calculated columns, calculated tables in Direct Lake. This again is what people are complaining about. Whenever they have these, they cannot use Direct Lake. And people use calculated columns and calculated tables a lot. So having these supported in Direct Lake will help Direct Lake become more popular. And last but not least, probably the most important is Direct Lake on One Lake. Slight mouthful like Unity Catalog. Direct Lake on One Lake is super important because this is the new Direct Lake, right? The old Direct Lake will fall back to direct query if your model size is too big, it doesn't fit into memory, or if your SQL has row-level security set up. Whereas this new Direct Lake will respect something called One Lake security. And One Lake security is the second flagship announcement. So if you remember, a few years ago, Fabric announced One Security, and it got really quiet until One Lake security was announced. The governance model in Fabric is a mess, right? However many type of compute, you'll have however many like access control model. You have row level security, column level security in SQL, you got Spark, you got Custo, it's a mess. But with One Lake security introduced, no matter what kind of compute engine is querying the data in One Lake, the rules set by One Lake security is respected. The third flagship feature is migration assistance from Synapse. When Synapse stopped development about 2 years ago, all of the engineering power, all of the PMs moved on to work on Fabric, and the users of Synapse go, what do we do now? We can use Synapse as it is until Fabric is ready. We can move to Databricks. We can move to Snowflake. There was a decision that people were making over the last 2 years, company by company, use case by use case. With the introduction of Migration Assistant from Synapse to Fabric, Microsoft is making this migration easier with AI-assisted migration and all that to help people move out of the end-of-life Synapse and into the new platform that is Fabric. The next category is developer experience. Now, there's a lot of developer experience that's got announced that wasn't necessarily mind-blowing for me, just because I came from the Databricks world, and a lot of announcement is basically catching up to Databricks. So you would have things like auto-scale billing for Spark, which is basically serverless billing, and you already have serverless jobs and serverless notebooks in Databricks. You have Copilot for notebooks, which is equivalent to AI assistants, Databricks assistants in Databricks. And then you have AI functions. Again, Databricks already had AI functions for quite some time now. So all of these features are just catching up to what Databricks was doing. That said, you do have developer experience announcements that are very unique to Fabric and very, very exciting. First, UDFs in DAX. This is such a good idea. You're basically injecting engineering principles into the analytics experience. It's really, really cool to make UDFs reusable in DAX. The next is calendars in DAX as well. Again, I haven't tried these features. Both UDFs and DAX are not supposed to be available for another few months, but once I try these out, I will report back. The next category is super exciting. To me, I would have put like CLI in the flagship announcement if I didn't decide to make automation a category, because there are so many other announcements in the automation front. I decided to make it its own category. CLI support for Fabric is a signal, right? Together with the other announcements, is a signal from Microsoft that we understood the data analyst persona, and now we are going to address the hardcore data engineering persona. We're going to make your life easier by building in these automation features. So things like CLI, things like CI/CD and enhancement for deployment pipeline API phase 2, things like the GA for Terraform provider, things like variable libraries. These are signals that Microsoft started to care about the experiences of automation, CI/CD pipelines, and that in turn makes Fabric more production ready. Last but not least, the category is integration. So there's a lot of integration announcement, like mirroring will support more sources. Things like the streaming at event connector will support more sources, like Event Grid and so on and so forth. But to me, two things stood out. One is the one-lake catalog integration with Excel. Making data in Fabric available for Excel users to explore is such a clever idea, because Excel undoubtedly have the most amount of monthly active user across all of the analytics tools in the world. And Microsoft arguably is one of the best companies that build analytic tools that integrate really well with Excel. The prime example being Power BI, and now you can explore data in Fabric using Excel as well. Given how many active users Excel has, if every Excel user would explore the data in Fabric, then that will make Fabric insanely successful. Next integration announcement is actually an announcement from Databricks. Databricks announced a task type called Power BI task type in Databricks workflows. So within that task type, you can publish and update the Power BI dataset directly within the Databricks workflows. It's quite exciting. That makes the Databricks and Power BI integration better. I haven't tried the feature. I would assume the success of this feature or the adoption of this feature will entirely depend on the maturity of UC metrics, right? Because you're not going to just have the tables together, the primary keys and foreign keys, and publish your Power BI and call it a day. You need calculated columns, you need measures, you need to create partitions, you need to do the semantic modeling piece before you update to before you publish to Power BI. So how good is, or how mature is UC metrics and how that's integrated into that workflows before the semantic model is published to Power BI is probably going to make or break that feature. That's it. That's the announcement wrap up. Let me know what I've missed. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know which features you would like me to try out once they become publicly available in a few months' time. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching Data Leaps. If you think the content is useful, please like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it.